By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in here into Inside Arkansas Live as we are live on game day. It's game day, folks. We actually have game day. How awesome is that? And we're going to have the Razorbacks playing tonight at 6 o'clock inside of War Memorial Stadium. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis. And fellas, I know we keep talking about like, hey, don't worry, now we don't have to talk about it anymore. Now we don't have to talk about it anymore. Well, here we are. We don't have to talk about it anymore, and it is officially game day that we get to speak of.
Man, finally, I'm excited. Look at John over there from an undisclosed location. He's all set. He's ready to roll. Andrew's got a fresh shave. I think everybody's just ready for game day. It's time. I'm so excited. I really am, man. We've been talking about it so much, and quite honestly, run out of things to talk about. So I don't know how we're going to get through this show today. We'll figure it out, but we can finally talk about actual football tonight. It's exciting.
I don't want to be too dramatic, but like the first day of football season, like that first game day is always a time where I can vividly remember the season opener in so many years. And I know you always make fun of me for being good at remembering where I was for random moments and stuff like that. But it's always like a time where I think back at, like I reflect a lot. I get very like sentimental on the first game day because I kind of remember as a kid waking up and being like, holy cow, Arkansas's playing today. Like, hell yeah. And being excited just through the years and even being in college and being a drunk loser who was like waking up on game day and being excited. And it's a time to reflect. And I decided to embrace that childhood wonderment by shaving my face and looking like a child on today's show.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up to you, Andrew, but I noticed the chat already did. And yeah, you look different, man. You don't look bad. You just look different.
I mean, you know, I don't think I've been completely clean shaven in a long time. Even when I shaved before, I would always leave the stash just because, you know, whatever. I didn't tell Hillary I was doing this. She might find out via watching this on our lunch break. So I'm probably going to get a text here in a few minutes. That's like, what the hell are you doing? But, you know, we move on. But I feel good. I feel fresh.
I feel like this is strategy on your part. You know, yesterday we were talking about what would it take for you to like, you know, get the haircut and get rid of the flow a little bit. And I think you're just gradually introducing people to the idea of a different look for Ellis. You know, it starts with the facial hair. People will get used to that. Maybe it comes back and then you take a little bit off of the flow there. You know, I think it's got to be a process, man. You can't just throw this entire makeover on us at once.
Yeah, it's got to be a gradual situation. But really, it's a new season. Fresh start for the face, fresh start for the Hogs. My face is 0-0, hoping to move to 1-0 today. And hopefully the Hogs can move to 1-0 as we have guaranteed on last week's show.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be happening. Again, it's 6 o'clock tonight, UAPB. And it is kind of nice to see some of the national, I guess, college football SEC guys where they're tweeting out in the morning. It's like, oh, SEC plays today. And it's like, oh, yeah. And then that is actually happening. The game is happening. And, you know, I know the Razorbacks are already here in Little Rock. I'm here in Little Rock, by the way, if you're wondering why I have random movie posters behind me. But yeah, I'm here in Little Rock from a very high-end studio. Wish you could see the rest of it. But we're going to be, of course, previewing that. We'll have some basketball talk because I may have watched one of the greatest videos of all time yesterday dealing with Razorback basketball. And so I think we're going to have to talk about that at some point too. So we'll get to some of your chats. So don't get mad at us if we're not getting to you in 5 seconds when you put the chat out there. But still, lots of things to get into and lots of things to dive into. So guys, just let's start here. How do y'all feel? Like just when you wake up on a game day, when it's not just a game day, but it's the start of football season. Like start of basketball season is great. Start of baseball season is great. It's all great. But at least here in Arkansas, because of the sports that we do cover, the football season is the end of a drought of not having really any major sports to be watching or to cover or anything like that. So when you finally arrive to game day, like how does that change your mood, your vibes, and your feelings on everything?
I mean, it's hard not to, no matter what the circumstances are, it's hard not to have a renewed level of optimism when it finally gets here. And I think we've been pretty level-headed about, you know, okay, like we're not expecting this team to win 10 games this year. Hopefully they make a bowl or whatever. And so for some people, I've seen a lot on Twitter, and it's like, oh man, it's the first football season I'm not excited for, and however long or whatever. Bullcrap. But I mean, you get here today. and you're kicking off at 6:30. There's just a renewed level of excitement. You can't shake it. The fandom's inside every one of us. So whether you think this team's going to have a great year or not, they play football tonight. And so you're excited. And it feels good, man. It really does. Even though it's UAPB, good Lord. I mean, I hope that they win this game by 50 points or whatever the spread is, but a drama-free performance would be cool. Either way, it's football, man. It feels good. Excited. The butterflies are flowing,
I used to have a baseball coach growing up who would always say opening day mentality. He wanted us to have an opening day mentality every day because everyone starts their season regardless, like you said, baseball, basketball, football. You go in kind of feeling confident, feeling good about what you're doing, and you kind of have that mentality, and he wanted us to have it all the time. And it's not going to last the entire season. Opening day is going to be just one day. But like you said, there's just a renewed sense of optimism. And I think with football, it's special because there's only 12 games. And so, like, every game matters so much, where it's like baseball, you drop your opener. Okay, you got 2 more games on the weekend. Basketball, you drop your opener. If Arkansas dropped their opener, it'd be a little bit concerning this year. But still, you've got plenty of time to kind of make it up. Now, this football team really cannot afford to drop this opener. But I just think that's also with football that adds to the anxiety of, like, you get to find out so much in the first 1, 2, 3 games. And so I think that just kind of adds to the excitement. And man, I just can't wait to watch not only Arkansas, but just everyone around the country. So we can stop kind of just imagining what this is going to look like or what some teams, we get to form some of those opinions. And I still think there's a lot to learn for Arkansas, even in a game like tonight.
Okay, so knowing what you're going to be predicting and what we've been predicting and everything, the question I have for you guys too, what do you want to see? Like, we talk about, you want to see a win and everything, but specifically, what is it that the number one thing you want to see from the Razorbacks in their home, I won't say home opener, but at least their opening game here in Little Rock?
Man, I probably have a list of about 24 different things, but I mean, honestly, 3 things that I'm really going to be watching the closest. Taylon Green in his debut. How does the accuracy look? Does he have command of the offense? And then overall, like what does this look like? The new or the return of Bobby Petrino. He's got his handpicked quarterback. Where is this offense at? The offensive line, can they just dominate the FCS team here? Just absolutely maul those guys like you should. And then I've always got my eye on newcomers, whether it's freshmen or the transfers coming in. Like, who are the new faces who are really gonna step up and kind of make a good, strong first impression? Because first impressions matter, by the way. So who are those guys going to be? That's kind of what I'm watching, but I could keep going on and on and on for sure.
Curtis, you sound like a man who read my beautiful story that I put pen to paper on yesterday that said,
maybe I did.
What can we learn? And so that's some of the stuff that I was talking about of, like, I'm excited to see who's going to be the guy that we're talking about tomorrow. Because I feel like every year, even if it's a game you're going to win, there's always, like, people that stick out. Like last year, I remember Jaden Johnson. He had a huge game, and we weren't really kind of expecting that. And the day after, we were kind of like, oh, Jaden Johnson, how about him? He's still around. He's still good. Like, cool. And I feel like there's going to be guys like that. I feel like there's going to be newcomers that the fans fall in love with. But really, ultimately, what I want to see is Arkansas make it look easy. I want them to dominate. I want them, especially in the run game. Yeah, I looked it up. Last year against Western Carolina, Arkansas obviously won. I think it was 56-20 or something weird like that. They averaged 2.9 yards a carry. They only ran the ball for like 104 yards on an FCS opponent. And in hindsight, that was obviously a massive red flag that I think some of us touched on at the time, but we should have known right then and there, hey, this offensive line's a problem. This is an issue. And so I'm not saying, if Arkansas only runs for 200 yards, like, that's an issue, but we want to see them make it look easy, especially that first team offense. So you get out the gates, get off to a strong start. I saw a bet today that had Arkansas at plus odds to score in the first 5, or it was either team could score, but when does the first touchdown happen? Over 5 minutes, and it was plus odds for under 5 minutes. I hope Arkansas crushes that. And I also I want to see this first team offense look sharp and make it look easy, because it should be easy. You're playing a very bad team. Simply pass the very easy test we are handing to you.
Man, you bring up a really good point there, Andrew, that I should have considered, but I hadn't. I think last year, after some of the offensive line struggles in that Western Carolina game, we really did just chalk it up to whatever, first game, they'll figure it out. They got some kinks to work out. It's fine. My BS meter is going to be turned all the way up, I think, going into this season. So I feel like I might be the guy who's really nitpicking or whatever, like after the game or next week, but pretty much anything I see that's worth even raising an eyebrow, I'm bringing it up as a potential red flag. I hate to be that guy, but got burned so bad last year. You ain't getting me again. Not happening.
Well, and I'll also throw into, kind of to y'all's point, I will, if Arkansas's offense, we'll use as an example, if they don't go out there and be consistent or, look at least good enough to where they could put sustained drives together and score and all that, miss me with they're not showing, no, they don't want to show too much. They don't want to show too much to, get ready for Oklahoma State. Because to me, I'm like, shut up. No. Like, even if you're running, the veer in 9 plays in your entire playbook, you should score and dominate UAPB. If you're running the most basic offenses, you still should dominate because you have better athletes, you have a better team, and you're faster, you're stronger, you're better, all of that. That's what you need to have. So to me, it could sound cliche, but I just want to see crispiness, one of those. We'll use it. I want to see crispiness for a first game. Like, I'm not expecting it to be perfect because it's the first game of the season, but come out and look like you actually know what you're doing. Don't get dumb delay game penalties because you can't figure out, you're supposed to be over here and here and here. Don't do the illegal formation plays. And I'm talking about for coaching staff too. Make decisions, Sam Pittman. If you want to go for it, then go for it. Don't mess around. If you want to go for the field goal, go for the field goal. Don't mess around. Get out there and execute your game plan and stick with it. That's what I want to see. I just want to see a team that goes in there and actually looks like they know what the heck they're doing instead of being confused and either getting penalties, turnovers, dumb plays, or a bunch of 3-and-outs that are needless.
I think crispiness needs to be our motto for the season. I think we're going to adopt that. That's what we want to see from Arkansas is crispiness from start to finish. But no, I agree, man. And I don't know. The other thing for me, and I should have mentioned this, but the number one, outside of winning, obviously, but the number one most important thing for me is just get the hell out of War Memorial Stadium healthy, because they're not necessarily going into the season. I mean, they don't have a bunch of season-ending injuries and things that you're really freaking out about, but they're a little banged up, all things considered. I mean, you got a number of, starters or guys who are expected to be impact players who may or may not participate in this game. We'll see. But man, don't get anybody banged up or injured down there. I know we always talk about the curse and man, there's always something always happens down there. It's just true. So please get out of there healthy and be as close as, to 100% as possible. Going into Oklahoma State, we need as good of vibes as we can possibly muster up for this football program going into Stillwater next weekend. It's very, very important.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify because I know that there's a lot of people who are kind of already prepared for the narrative to shift and all that. Like they think if Arkansas wins by 60, that we're all going to be like, whoa, how about that? This team's awesome. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying that beating Pine Bluff soundly means anything. Or that if Arkansas, has 600 yards of offense, whatever that is, we're not going to jump to any conclusions from that case. But like we talked about, you'd much rather them just do that than not. And there's been plenty of times in these type of situations. I even think in 2017 where Arkansas, it took them a while to get going offensively. And I think Austin Allen finished like 130 passing yards in the season opener against Florida A&M. And it's like, you just don't want to have that because like we were talking about, you can usually kind of sniff out when there's a team that's a little bit full of crap. And a lot of times we ignore that because we just want to look at this through a positive lens and be like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. And we use the vanilla excuse, like John said. But yeah, I think a lot of times it's like you can usually tell how good a football team is by how they handle each test. Like you can learn a lot from all this. Like, for example, that Nicholls State game that we watched in 2014 where Arkansas scored 70. Sure, that game in and of itself didn't mean anything. But it turned out Arkansas had a pretty good football team. So the fact that they were able to handle even an easy test like that so soundly, usually it speaks volumes. And I feel like point differential usually, like if you look at the end of the year, the top teams in point differential are usually the top teams in the country. You beat up on bad teams. You're supposed to do it, but do it and make it look easy. Give us nothing to worry about. We should be putting our head on our pillow. Easy, no concerns at all. Just kind of ho-hum. That's what we're looking for. And like Curtis said, you can't have a bunch of controversy. You can't have a bunch of injuries. You don't want to have all these weird questions that pop up after game one. And I feel like that's what happened last year. Arkansas had a little bit of all that because Rocket Sanders was banged up. You had questions with the O-line. and we'll see if what it looks like here. But I know we've said it a lot, but I cannot wait to just have actual real things to talk about. Hey, we saw this happen. Here's what we think about it, rather than what's going to happen. What's this going to look like? What's so-and-so going to look like? Is Monty Harrison going to win the Heisman? I'm excited to just put it all to bed and just have real, actual developments to talk about.
So what would you guys consider to be an alarming margin of victory? Like if we're talking about just point differential, which I know if you win 21-0, that's a lot different than winning 42-21. Like, I understand that. But is there a certain point margin to where if it's like less than this, it's worrisome, but if it's more than that, it's fine type of thing?
To me, it kind of depends on what the score is at halftime. I mean, I think back to that game a couple years ago, and it was 45-0 at halftime and ended 45-3. Okay, whatever. Like, we understand what happened there. I will say, if Arkansas doesn't score over, well over 40 points in this game, I'd kind of look at that a little bit sideways. I would be frustrated if UAPB scored more than 14, frankly, whether, the third string is playing the entire second half or not. But in terms of margin, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I feel like you need to win this game by at least 4 scores, probably more. I mean, it just, how would you feel if this was like I don't know, 42-21 or something? I don't know. I wouldn't feel great about it, man. I just wouldn't.
Maybe I'm a little crazy here, and I'm really just basing this off of how bad UAPB is projected to be a little bit. I think anything under 35 points would be a little bit worrisome. And I'm glad you mentioned, Curtis, that the halftime score matters, because that FAU or FAMU game that I referenced in 2017 finished like 56-7 or something like that, or 52-7. But it was a lot closer than that 45-3 UAPB game from 2021, where those were similar margins of victory, but completely different performances. And so I think it does. The performance matters a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just looking at on paper, if Arkansas doesn't win by 40, I feel like it's a little bit like there's going to be a reason why. That reason could be as simple as they took their foot off the gas and UAPB scored some touchdowns late. Okay, I can kind of accept that. But if the reason is, well, it took them 4 possessions to really get going offensively, and there were some breakdowns, a few big plays, but other than that, it was fine. Those last few reasons that I just referenced would be a lot more concerning than just simply, they took their foot off the gas, which frankly, Sam Pittman has made he's pretty adamant about not running up the score. Like, we haven't seen Arkansas really do that under him. And so I don't expect them to be trying to score a ton in the fourth quarter here, but I think you got to make a statement early and make it clear. This ain't a situation. This ain't no sunshine and rainbows. We're way better than this team. Let's move on to next week. I want to see that statement made pretty early.
Yeah. And I won't be, running down to the practice facility with my pitchfork and torches, but if it's 38-10, like John's pessimistic prediction, tonight we'll be having a discussion about where this thing is headed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think it'll be rightfully so, because the reason I brought that up is because I feel like in almost all the horrible seasons I can remember from Arkansas, which has been plenty, there have been games, especially in the early part of the season, where they blew out their opponent. Last year when they blew out, I always forget it, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois, whichever one it was, but the opening game blew them out. Well, they went 4-8. Chad Morris's first year, they played, I believe, it's Eastern Illinois. Like I said, I'm throwing these out. I don't remember who it is exactly, but they blew them out, or at least they scored a lot of points and it was never in doubt. They went 2-10 that year. So the reason I bring that up is because just because you just blow out an opponent doesn't mean anything as far as what the season's going to have happen. At least blowing out an opponent like UAPB is not going to mean anything as far as the rest of the season go. However, if you have close games against bad opponents, then it does every single time equate to either a bad season or a season that's very underwhelming. So that's where it's like, we talked about, it doesn't matter if you win big, because I'll promise you, if Arkansas goes out there and wins 70-0, like a massive margin of victory, I'm not changing my mind. I know people will give me crap and be like, oh, whatever, you're going to think they're undefeated. No, I'm not changing my mind. And I'll tell you this, if they go out and they only win 21-17, I'm changing my mind. and go in the other direction. So it's just a matter of what are you comfortable with after the end of the game, at the end result. Obviously, everyone wants to stay healthy, but what's your comfort level? That is what is going to be crucial for Razorback fans to have any sort of confidence going into that Oklahoma State game. They got to be comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just being honest here, the only way UAPB is even remotely in this game is if Arkansas makes a bunch of mistakes. I mean, it would require some weird stuff, but it would definitely be like, a random pick six, or, a helmet hits a ball and it's a scoop and score. And it would take multiple of those things for UAPB to even be in this game. Like, it's not going to be a situation where, both teams play relatively clean football and this is close at all. So, if Arkansas plays clean, and they don't have to be mistake free, but just avoid the stupid stuff, this should just get ugly. It should get ugly quick.
Yeah, and I really do. Like, I hate to be like ragging on UAPB a little bit here, but I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what's happening here. Like, I see someone in the chat was like, "Well, Arkansas struggled against Rice that one year." Rice is an FBS program that like plays real teams and has normal functioning adults on their team. This really is not that. Like, this is not only an FCS team. They're projected as the third worst FCS team, and the two teams that are projected worse than them were not even FCS the year before. They're like brand new, like Sisters of the Blind and stuff like that. So it's like, I really need people to understand the context that, like, and remember that for the good and the bad. For if it's 70-0, like John said, remember, this was a really, really bad team that Arkansas was supposed to dominate, and they will dominate them. Like, let's just be honest about that. But I think it's right. Like, we can't ignore any red flags that pop up tonight. There shouldn't be any that pop up tonight, because I don't think that this situation, this game is one where stuff like that will happen. But like, we think back to that 2021 game, Malik Hornsby couldn't get a first down, and that turned out to be a pretty massive red flag that maybe Malik Hornsby isn't ready to be a quarterback at this level. And it turned out to be all true. Now, Malik Chavis and Miles Slusher having interceptions didn't mean that they were good. It works. And so I really do. I agree with your point, John, where like bad things would mean a lot more than the good things in this game. So if we sound in the post game where we're like reacting to a 56-3 win and we're pointing out all the negatives, it's because of the context of what this situation, what this game actually is.
Yeah, and you can even equate it to basketball with Arkansas, because Curtis, remind me of who Cal and Arkansas is playing first game of the season officially?
Lipscomb.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So if they go out and they beat Lipscomb by 30 points, is anyone going to be like, oh, wow, man, okay, you know what, I wasn't sure about this team, but now I feel like they can go to the Final Four? No, it's the same thing. Now, if they go out and only win by like 5, I'll definitely make excuses and try to justify why. They're new, it's young players, something like that. But that's the thing about this football team, this football game, and really this year in general. There's no benefit of the doubt. No more benefit of the doubt. No more wait and see. No more, we'll just, I feel like they're getting better. No, you have to do it now. It has to happen now. And I think you guys alluded to it a little bit too. And going back to, talking about what we want to see, what's something that I will not accept under any circumstance? If Arkansas's offensive or defensive line is getting worked.
Yeah.
0 excuses for that. That is one thing where, listen, yeah, there might be a wide receiver going up against a cornerback for UAPB where that cornerback makes a play. There could be a time where, there's a linebacker for UAPB that makes a great tackle and unhinges the ball a little bit. Like, there can be some plays that UAPB's making. So I'm not going to just say you should win every single matchup, every single play, every single time. But the trench play, there better not be anything where I'm looking at, I'm like, oh gosh, this is, if the defensive line for Arkansas, if the quarterback for UAPB is back there with like 7 seconds of a clean pocket, that's going to be a problem. If Arkansas's offensive line, again, I think we talked about it, but if they have 12 carries as an offense for 29 yards at halftime, I'm mad. I'm frustrated. Those are the two things where there is no excuse, no nothing. Offensive and defensive lines, you better dominate. You better work them over. Show that you're the more physical team. Show that you're the dadgum SEC team in this matchup, and go out there and just work them over. And if you do that, the rest of it will come together. The running game will go great. The passing game will be better. Taylor will have time. The defense, the secondary, and the back seven will have more time to, wait on plays and it'll take the pressure off of them. If those two units just do that, they're going to get out of this game, and they're going to get out of this game with a massive win. So I do not want to see. I just don't want to see that offensive line get worked again. I can't do that again, guys. Last year was so horrible to watch. We just can't. I don't want to see Taylor Green on his backside 8 times in this game. That just can't happen.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say this though. If UAPB only scores 7 points in this game, like I said yesterday, I hope it's because they burn the secondary on the first possession. It just that big slow secondary back there, just get over the top for a bomb right away. Even if Arkansas was down 7-0 temporarily, and they win the game 70-7 or whatever, I would love to see that though. You got to admit the irony would be great if that happened.
No, yeah. I mean, think about in War Memorial in particular, just thinking of how many horror stories have played out in that stadium. I remember being there. I don't know if y'all remember this game. Arkansas played Samford in War Memorial in 2013, which I believe was Bielema's first year. And it was this weird moment where it looked like Arkansas was going to lose. And you could almost feel it in the stadium where it was like everyone, because it's a year removed from ULM, and everyone kind of had that pit in their stomach. Like you said, Curtis, if Arkansas goes down 7-0, it's going to feel like a horror movie in there. And that crowd is going to be tense and angry. And it would be wild. But we shouldn't advise people to bet too much on this show because, be responsible with your money, bet responsibly. But if you're into live betting, I would be keeping an eye on that. If Arkansas starts slow, that spread drops down, that live spread drops down to minus 35 or something like that. Might have to hammer on that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've put some money down on this game, and I'm not going to feel good about it, but I'm sure it's going to be bad. But it's also going to be hot too. By the way, I saw kickoff temperature here in Little Rock at 96 degrees. Kickoff. Ooh, so
that's tough.
Yeah.
How cold? I'd say cold. How much will that drop throughout the game?
Now that I don't know, I probably need to look at that, but I'm sure it'll drop down to a real cool 87. By the time it all comes to an end. But yeah, that's another thing too, is they're going to have to worry about being too hot and all of this game too. So, but yeah, listen, it's people are going to have their own opinions after this game, no matter what. Actually, dropped to 83 degrees by the time it all ends. So yeah, still going to be a warm one out there, but yeah, so we're going to talk about our predictions and everything too into this game. And, also, I know we'll have some fun with it too. So let's just kind of go into the part of it. What do y'all think as far as the first touchdown of the game? Who ends up taking care of business there?
Satania.
I hate when Curtis steals my answers, bro. I was kind of thinking Has, which we talked about on the show yesterday, but then I saw 20 people today being like, "Oh, Has scoring the first touchdown." It's never who you think. So I'm not going to steal Curtis's answer, even though he stole mine. I'm going to go with Jaquan Jackson. We think he's getting the ball in the first play. Y'all seem to be pretty convinced of that. Just give it to him. Let him carry it in.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Let's see. Yeah, I like the idea. I don't know. I got this feeling that they're going to try to get Satania a touch early. And it's going to be one of those where at the end of the game, it looks like a 60-yard touchdown reception, but it was really him catching and running it for 57. That's kind of, I think, where I'm at. I think I've settled on that. Now, the Luke Haas thing is, I could easily see that being the case too.
I would see that for whatever reason, I'm feeling like it's going to be somebody that we don't really, because was it Jaden Wilson or something like that? Just some random player that catches a touchdown pass, and everyone's like, "Oh wait, what number is that? Who is that? Oh, that guy. Yeah, how about that? That would work out." So, yeah, I mean, it's so you guys feel like though it's going to be a passing, or I guess Curtis, you feel like it's a passing touchdown, and Andrew, you're going to go with a rushing touchdown.
I'll go with rushing. Yeah,
I'll stick with passing. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. There we have it. So, does you think that it's a big play, or is it just a methodical drive downfield?
I don't think they're going to need to have a methodical drive.
I'm going with Jackson because I think they're going to have two. It's going to be a 4 or 5 play drive, but I think they're going to have a big play that gets them down to the 4, and then he carries it in.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be a 24 4-yard touchdown reception too, like just a 2nd and 4 play action pass, finds him right, just cutting in, and then he gets it. So, yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I want to go back to this real quick too, just because there's always just questions. That's pretty much what our show is going to be a lot about today, just questions and predictions and everything. But percentage-wise, how many offensive possessions do you feel good if Arkansas, on scoring points, it could be a field goal or touchdown, but how many offensive possessions, percentage-wise, do you need to see them have points?
80%.
Yeah, I think 80. So, I mean, is 12 a good number for possessions? Does that sound about right?
Probably.
Maybe like in that 10 to 12 range. So I think if you're scoring on, so 9 of 12 would be 75%, right? If my math is correct. I'll accept 75%. But yeah, I think in that upper echelon of like 75, 80.
Yeah, that's probably what I was going to say is about 75%. Because also, hopefully they don't have to do it too much, but I'm going to be really bummed if whichever kicker goes out there ends up lining up for like a 38-yarder and just swings and misses. That's going to be problematic because confidence is everything in those kickers, and I feel like there's nothing that is more confident killing than a battle for the kicker position. It gets won by somebody. They're like, all right, there you go. Go out there and get one 38-yarder. And then you miss it first kick you get after winning the job. They got to do that, man. They got to have kicking. They got to have a kicker that can be at least consistent because you're going to be in close games this year. I don't care what anybody says. You're going to be in close games, and I'm going to be, like everybody, really upset if Arkansas loses 3 games this year because they just didn't have a consistent kicker, which could actually happen. It could be possible.
I think he'll be all right. He's not going to be Cam Little. Nobody is. Those are big shoes to fill, man. That's not fair. You never want to be the guy who replaces the guy. Like, imagine being in John Calipari's shoes right now. I mean, he's the guy replacing the guy for Arkansas basketball. It's a joke.
Totally. Yeah, like it's like if all the people, because at first I thought you were saying John Calipari like with Tucky. Imagine being like, no, that's from us. Totally understand. Well, I'll tell you what, that's said because this is a great video. And we'll play this in its entirety. I almost wet myself watching this yesterday. John Calipari brings in Nolan Richardson, former Razorback great coach, to talk to the team. Take a look.
Nolan Richardson is an icon in our profession. Here, what he did, they've been to 6 Final Fours. He took them to 3. They won 1 national title. He won it, his team. They've been to the finals twice. They were both under him. But before he got here, also won what? NIT national title?
Right.
And then won the junior college national title?
Right.
So let me just tell you, come on in here a little bit. They played, he called it 40 minutes of hell when he was here. And they played. And if you ever watched them practice, you would say, oh my gosh. He got them so competitive that that's what they were known as. I wanted him to come here, and I've been asking him. I wanted him to talk to you because we talked about being good players and then being champions. And so, Coach, you got it.
Hey guys, I'm glad to be able to at least come into the gym. I haven't been around the gym as much as I would have liked to be. But knowing Coach Cal and what he's done at the University of Kentucky, UMass. Matter of fact, one night he beat us so bad that I didn't think I was going to go to sleep that night. I prayed for the plane to fall out the air. That's how I love it. You know, that's wanting to do it. The thing that I've heard so much about this group that impresses me the most is how hard you play. That's the biggest keys to anything that we do in our lives, as far as I'm concerned. It's how hard we're going to do it. And if you got the kind of guy, the kind of coach that you're paying attention to, then you got a chance to be very, very successful. Now, what is success? Success is going where you hope or going where you have started working toward going. Now, some of you will play more than others, but everybody on the team is for one. One is for all is for one. That's what we call team ball. You have the opportunity to do something Very different here. Yes, the University of Arkansas have won a national championship, only one. The state of Arkansas only have 3 schools in its state of major Division I. So you have something to prove as a team member or as an individual. Now, I want to say this, that there's those who play to win and there's those who play to play. Which one are you? You're either going to play to win or you're just playing because you got the jersey on and Coach Cal invited you to play. I don't want to be that guy. There's no substitute for conditioning. None. There's no substitute for conditioning. There's no substitute for strength. You got good strength coach. You can't substitute it. You can't put something in its place. It's got to be done. Then you got to believe, and then you work hard. I know Coach Cal will do that for you. The key is, do I have enough intelligence to pay attention? Because some of us hear what we're saying, and some of us are listening to what we're saying. You pay attention. He'll get you there. We'll all be happy. Be the best that you can be. That's all I'm saying. Work as hard as you can work every day. Every day. There are no days off in this game. When you cross that line, you should say to yourself, I come to work. This is my job. This is what I do. This is where I'm going to lay my hat. This is it. When I get across that line coming back, then I can be what I want to be there. But cross this line, cross to the court, ready to play. Hey, we're going to do it every day, as hard as we can. And I'll be hopefully having an opportunity to watch you guys play, because something tells me we got something beautiful in the air, and it's not Coach Cal.
That's right.
All righty. Thank you very much, guys.
Coach, thank you.
All right, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to need a new pair of pants. Like, I'm going to have to go change pants right now after listening to that.
My pants are good, but that got me going. I mean, what a guy, that's just, I couldn't imagine being a player, and, it's pretty cool. Like you're playing for an active Hall of Famer, but Nolan Richardson, that just hits different. If you know anything about Arkansas basketball at all, that just hits different. And it was so cool to see the kind of things that he still gets so impassioned about. Like what fired him up? When did he raise his voice? He was like, how hard you play. There's no substitute for conditioning. There's no substitute for strength. It's like you think about all the things that defined him as a coach, and it still gets the blood boiling for him. It gets him going. I got to say, though, when he was talking about losing the Cal and he was like, I wish the plane fell out of the sky, I was like, damn. Dang, man.
I was just impressed. Like, he didn't phone in his speaking it, because I feel like he's been asked to speak to 1,000 teams over the years. I feel like he probably speaks to the Razorbacks a lot, and it would be easy for a guy like Nolan to just kind of show up and, hey guys, really hope you have a great season, wishing you the best of luck. Like, I love being a Razorback, hope you do too. Let's clap it up or whatever. That was like a legitimate speech, bro. That was real, and you could still see the intensity and the fire. Like, you can still see that he's still got that, man. And obviously he's getting up there in age, but he's still Nolan, man. It's really cool to see, and I just really appreciate how much respect Cal has shown Nolan, even from the day he was hired. I remember at the press conference, him talking about how he had a picture of Nolan in his office. Weirdly enough, it's kind of a weird picture of him that Nolan's in the background of, but he just always had so much respect for Nolan. And you expect Cal to say stuff like that when he's trying to kind of win over the fan base. But I feel like it was really cool to see how excited he was to have Nolan there speaking to the team. It just it really gets the juices going, man. It just gives you the warm fuzzies, man. I loved it.
Well, when I was first watching it, and I saw the picture first of both of them, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And then they put out a video, and I was actually driving down to Little Rock. Don't worry, I wasn't watching it and driving, but I listened to it in my truck. And when it started and he started talking, I'm like, oh man, he's so soft spoken because Nolan's always had the big voice that just goes across the court. Like if there would be 20,000 people in Bud Walton Arena and you could be in the top row and still hear him screaming at the officials. Like he had just that voice. And so it's kind of like worried, like, oh man, is this what he sounds so weak? He's getting up in age. And then, like you said, Curtis, when he comes in with those, like, it's almost like he got to the point of like, he's in a coaching job again, where he's coaching guys again, and he hit that syllable and just boom. It almost makes you like kind of wake up a little bit, and it shows that he still got it. So the great voice that he had, and the message that he had, and him being 81 years old, if I'm not mistaken, like that was such a cool moment because myself for a while, I was always under the impression that Cal and Nolan did not like each other. I just was because of the situation with JJ Sullinger and whatever, Tony Barbie and all that stuff. But seeing them together is such a great thing. I don't know. It's just such a cool thing to see them together.
Well, game recognized game, right? I mean, Hall of Famers, they respect one another for their accomplishments. So, no, I really did think that was awesome, man. Nolan, you're 100% right. I think for a minute there, he kind of got back in coach mode. And you could just see it written all over his face. That my favorite part, I know I just said it, but my favorite part was when he started getting all loud about conditioning, because you hear the stories about his practices all the time, and they just run 40 minutes of hell. Like we know all of that. And so it's not surprising at all that the first time he raises his voice is when he's talking about conditioning. There is no substitute. Like, yes, sir. I'll run a sprint right now if you want me to, man. Like whatever you need. And then obviously the comment at the end was really, that was hilarious. Like, I think you guys got something special in there, and it ain't Coach Cal.
I love it. I really just I genuinely hope that the players on the team understand who that is. And I know they know he won a national title at Arkansas. I know that they understand, oh yeah, it's a respected basketball coach. They know that people love him, but I just hope they really understand, like, that is a freaking living legend right in front of them. Like, and I'm sure it's going to be one of those things where they might not know a ton about him, but the more they find out about Nolan Richardson, the more they're going to be like, oh, damn, like this guy's a gangster. Like this is a guy that we look up to. And so I just hope, like, I'm sure, because, everybody knows, like, coaches bring in guys to talk to the team. And sometimes it'll literally be just random dudes who, like, you will forget their name before they're even out the door. And obviously this is a little bit different with Nolan. I just hope the players on the team really understand, like, who they're hearing from, frankly.
Yeah, that's huge, because real quick story that always stuck with me as a kid. Like, you all remember the Redeem team in 2008 in the Olympics, and they were coached by Coach Cal. Well, at that time, and during that time, they played Mexico. The United States did. And Mexico was coached by Nolan Richardson, because a lot of people may not know this. He's bilingual. He can speak fluent Spanish. Growing up where he did, now it's UTEP, but they're on the Panhandle and everything, knowing all that. And it was awesome when Coach K, before the game, he was doing an interview with, I think it was ABC or NBC or whoever, and he said that, hey, guys, he's talking to his team, Kobe Bryant, like all these guys, we're going to beat this team very handedly. He's like, but he went to all the African-American players, and he said, when the game is over, you go over there and you talk to Nolan Richardson and you thank him, because if it wasn't for him and people like him, you would not be in this position and in this opportunity we're today. And I thought that was such a cool thing from Coach K. And also thinking about, Nolan Richardson, great college coach, but he's got Kobe Bryant coming up to him. He's got LeBron James coming up to him, like these icons that, I'm hoping, like what you said, Andrew, is that they know a little bit about who he is and what he accomplished, and how, like, just breaking a glass ceiling and being a pioneer in what was college basketball. Like, it's just really cool. But I don't know. I do want to ask this to make it a little bit more funny, and I'm going to put you all on the spot, and I'm sorry. Who do you think Nolan likes more, Coach K or Coach Cal or Coach Muss?
Probably Cal, man. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably Cal.
Definitely right now. I think Muss was probably an acquired taste for him, and I think Muss is an acquired taste for a lot of people. And I bet he had to probably do some mental gymnastics. Like, I'm sure when he first caught wind of the Coach Cal being hired, he probably wasn't immediately like, oh, cool. I'm sure he needed some convincing, but I bet after spending some time with him and just being around him, and like you said, there's the game respects game. Like he knows his story. I mean, he's been against him. Like he understands. I think there's a level of respect there that he has for him. And so, yeah, I'd say probably Cal. And I feel like Cal is good at nurturing those relationships. And so I bet here soon they'll be real good buddies.
One thing that after listening to that, I mean, I listened to it probably 3 or 4 times yesterday, and then I was laying in bed last night and I was thinking about it, and I got in a rabbit hole, but it's really makes me sad after listening to that and having all those memories jog back up that it didn't work out for Mike Anderson at Arkansas, because that was just like the perfect setup, the perfect scenario. I mean, I remember being pissed when he was at Missouri. I'm like, why is this dude at Missouri? This doesn't even make sense. And then when he finally became the head coach at Arkansas, I was like, this is it, man. And everybody was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what they need. Back to the glory days. There's no way that this doesn't work with Mike. And it just didn't, man. It's a damn shame, because that would have been a really, really cool story. Not to go back to the Mike Anderson days too much. I don't even know what he's doing now, if he's coaching anywhere or what he's got going on, but it's just too bad, man, because you could have had a really cool legacy thing going on there.
I do feel like history will remember Mike decently, just because like when you think of the full story of Arkansas basketball, obviously, you go back to the 90s and all that, but this era that we're in with Arkansas basketball, they were a very far away from it when Mike took over at that point in time. Like that was really probably rock bottom for Arkansas basketball. It was right before Mike took over. And I feel like he got them back to at least a consistent, respectable. Arkansas was a respected program under Mike Anderson. Like they obviously weren't an elite program. We kind of were annoyed that they weren't getting over that hump, and Eric Musselman kind of helped get them over that hump. But I feel like when we look back in 20, 30 years, we will kind of remember Mike well. But I do think that's another factor of why Nolan probably wasn't super big on Muss, is because he would just happen to be the first guy right after Mike. And obviously Mike was his guy.
Well, and if you think about it, this just made me think about it too, Curtis, bringing up Mike Anderson. I remember how I was the same way. As a Razorback fan, I was so mad. I'm like, get Pelfrey out of here and just bring Mike Anderson home. And everyone was knowing, it's like, it's a no-brainer. And they did. And people forget that Mike Anderson team that he left at Missouri, with that Frank Haith took over. Frank Haith, who is not a good coach, won 30 games with that team. Like, Mike Anderson left a Final Four caliber team to come to Arkansas. And I feel like it's not that it didn't work out the way it was, but I also felt like, looking back on it and the style and the way that the game went, I think it was just too late. If Arkansas had hired Mike Anderson in mid to late 2000s, you may have seen the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight appearances that he had at UAB and at Missouri. But it just felt like 8 years was a long time, and you only won 2 NCAA tournament games in that 8-year span. That just wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to get it done.
Yeah. But, and then, and Jeff brings up a good point in the chat where he talks about recruiting being Mike's issue. He didn't get the dudes, especially the in-state dudes. And yeah, I mean, part of that is thanks, Cal, for a couple of those, I guess. But I mean, there is some truth to that. I think mainly, and he had wound up getting he was the master of like the diamond in the rough guy who you're like, who the hell is this? And he winds up developing and being pretty good, whatever. But to not have a post Daniel Gafford plan when Daniel Gafford's career ends, like the season's over, he's gone for sure. And you just like, there's just no answers there. What are you going to do? I mean, I don't know. So
Mike Anderson was finally the time when Arkansas was like, all right, we're done having good men at the helm of our basketball program. Character's overrated. Let's just get a guy who will get some good players in here.
Yeah. Well, and then also too with basketball, I know we're talking about basketball, but if you think about the last three coaching hires, I can't remember a time where universally the fan base at the time of their hiring was all in arms being like, this is awesome. Like when they hired Mike Anderson, everybody was like, yep, this is awesome. When they hired Muss, which even people who didn't really know Muss, but then they looked at his record, yeah, this is awesome. I love this guy. And then Cal, of course. So, whatever it is with football, I wouldn't say every hire has just inspired hope, but basketball, past three at least, You've done some good things there, and you've hired some good coaches.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I know it's football game day, but you know me when we start talking hoops, but I do think down the line, if like say Cal coaches Arkansas for 5 years or whatever, whether he gets to a Final Four or has a run similar to Muss, who knows? But who would be next? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like who would actually be next? It's crazy because I feel like people are automatically going to be like, well, eventually, like Chris Beard, one of these days, he is going to be Arkansas's coach. But I just couldn't imagine, I don't know, being the guy who was next up for the job. It depends on what kind of place Cal leaves the program in. I think it'll be a pretty solid one, but like for being dormant for a while and then you have the success with Must and you get a Hall of Famer in Cal, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Trey Wade is going to be the next Arkansas Razorback men's head basketball coach.
Oh.
But honestly, John, to your point, I think they were all three the correct hires. I don't think in hindsight, it's like, I'm sure you could have hired someone who maybe had a higher ceiling than Mike Anderson, but would you have gotten the consistency that they got and kind of gotten Arkansas back to the point where they were? And so I feel like it was kind of the natural progression that the program needed to go through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if you got to take out of context of what the year and the era ended up being, because I'm not a fan of him, but at the time, Brett Bielema was an incredible hire by Arkansas.
Yeah,
like
unanimous approval.
Yeah, it was like, holy crap, you got a guy that won 3 straight Big Ten titles to come down here, and his worst year was 8-4 or whatever. Now it didn't work out, but that's why it's always tough. You got to remember in the moment, like because I do remember Chad Morris. There were a lot of people that weren't. They weren't on that one. There were people that weren't on the John L. Smith debacle and everything too. Like it just there's people who weren't on the Sam Pittman thing either. Like, a lot of people. So to get a unanimous, like everyone on board, heck yeah, it's pretty tough, especially with Razorback fans because they hate everything and everyone, and that's just how they are. So
yeah, maybe football should just start hiring good coaches.
Maybe.
I'm starting to think, John, you might be onto something, dude. They might just need to start hiring good coaches, bro.
Yeah. Well, once they do that, because the only time I remember in football wise was the Petrino thing. Because when they hired Petrino, it's like, oh yeah, I think everyone's good to go on that one. And I remember some people actually thinking that he would convince Darren McFadden and Felix Jones to come back another year. Oh, that went by the wayside quickly. So I don't know about you, Curtis and Andrew, but I'm going to listen to that video a few times today, probably.
Yeah, I'll probably listen to it once a day until the season starts, honestly.
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to come back to it when it's like about to be basketball season. I'm going to come back to it and kind of ramp up again my excitement.
Man, yeah, I mean, it's just, you can't get enough of that. That's the content that we need from the Razorbacks. That's the type of content we need. But yes, it's still Razorback game day here in Little Rock. I will admit, guys, I was a little disappointed. Drove by War Memorial Stadium. Didn't see any tailgates out there on a Thursday morning. I don't know what's going on over there, but I'll be curious to see. I'm joking, by the way, everybody. Like, it's a Thursday. I don't expect anyone to be tailgating, but there will be.
I think I did actually expect people to be tailgating.
Get your butts out of that. Are people going to work today?
Yeah. If you're at work right now, you're a shameful man.
That's true. Well, my buddy Devin's doing a half day because he I was like, do that first. Go
a half day.
No, yeah, just get a half day and do that. All right, let's get to a few of your chats here on the show. Pooh Bear the Plug says, who else is smashing that 50.5 under? I don't know. I'm not.
I don't like it.
I don't want.
I think the over-under is higher than that, right? It's like 56.5 or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
I think I kind of like the over in the game.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Dude. Give me a high-scoring game over whatever it is we watched last year most of the time.
Cannot be 38-3. It just can't be.
No, don't want that. Megan says, I have been excited since my feet hit the floor this morning and have been waiting for this stream since I got to work this morning. So
that's very nice. I like that. One of our regulars. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also,
good shout out
Megan, half day. We going to work for the full day? Is that what
we're doing? Are you still at work? What's going on here? Right.
Yeah. Let us know what's going on there. Let us know. Also, Justin says, will Taylor Green outproduce what Connor Wegman did in his first year in the Petrino offense? Well, Wegman got half the year, but
that's the reason why I said that right away. But I mean, Wegman was kind of on pace to have a hell of a season. Like if you get that out of Taylor Green, I think Arkansas is cooking pretty good here. It's hard to say without knowing what Wegman would have eventually done, but that's a pretty high bar to set, in my opinion. I'm high on Wegman.
It's a high bar to set, and I agree. Like, if he didn't get hurt, I think he was going to have a really good year. But I think also that little glimpse shows you, that should give you the optimism of like, hey, when Petrino gets a quarterback he likes and the one that's talented, that's what he can do. We get to find out tonight if Taylor Green is that guy. It'll all be decided tonight.
That's right. Tonight in War Memorial. Also, Mr. Bloodline says, are you guys going to panic if we don't score on the opening drive?
Yes.
Okay, maybe not panic. I will panic if they go 3 and out. I will not like that.
I mean, I definitely won't panic, but I will. If they don't score a touchdown on the opening drive, I'm not going to lie, I will be irritated. Like, I'll probably drop in some 4-letter words at the screen, like, what the hell are we doing here kind of situation. But
yeah. And it looked like it'd be one thing if, like, especially if there's like a run for 1-2 yards, like they get stuffed at the line of scrimmage, like anything that's like a chink in the armor, I'm going to be like, okay, that's concerning. I won't necessarily panic after the first drive, but my patience will wear thin real quick.
Yeah. If I say I won't be, but then I will be. Like, if I see them, even if they get like 1 first down, and then, okay, here's the thing. I will be frustrated no matter what, but I'll be more frustrated if it was they ran the ball on 1st and 2nd down and it still ended up being 3rd and 8. Like, that's the type of stuff that'll drive me up a wall.
Which was happening last year, Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say, like, maybe one of you Big J journalists put this together, but I want to say someone put up that their average 3rd down yardage was like 7.5 on the year.
Yeah, it was kind of stupid. It really was. I think for a little bit of panic to actually set in for me, it would be like a 3 and out on the first drive where it's just kind of like, whatever. There's a drop pass or something you had to punt, and then maybe on the second drive they kind of sustain something and they miss a field goal or whatever. Then you like get to the end of the first quarter and you haven't scored. I think at that point I'll be like, okay, this ain't good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to have any of those conversations. Although I do want to screenshot a lot of people. Like, that's one of my favorite things, like in the beginning of a game, just to see the reactions. If Arkansas does not, just people are like, this team sucks. This team's off. Taylor Green, get him out of here. We should have kept Criswell. There's just going to be stuff like that happens, and people are going to look like idiots at the end. That's why I love it.
Okay. I pulled it up because I just wanted to remember. I wanted to refresh my memory real quick. Here were Arkansas's first 2 drives against Florida A&M in 2017. You want to ask what would make me panic? This. First drive, 4 plays, 20 yards, punt. Next drive, 6 plays, 27 yards, interception. And they scored a touchdown on the 3rd possession. That right there would make me panic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would be bored and mad, and I just want to leave. It's like, it's going to be bad enough being that hot in the stadium, but
What's crazy is that happened, and a lot of us at the time, I mean, I was in college, I wasn't covering the team, but like, I remember being like, oh, it doesn't matter. They're fine. They end up winning 49-7. I'm like, yeah, they're fine. It was not fine.
No, it wasn't fine. Ended up being a problem.
Was that the Pulley game where he got hurt?
Yes.
Yeah, that was not great either.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Yeah.
The only 2 things I remember about that game was Pulley's injury, and then the, I guess, personal fouls at FIU or FAU, whichever one it was, that got, or Florida A&M, sorry, that got the penalties because their uniforms were like white jerseys with white letters. And apparently that you can't do that.
I forgot about that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Austin Allen finished this game. He was 14 of 19 for 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That ain't what I want to see out of Taylor Green tonight. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Chase Hayden 14 for 120 though. Shout out to Chase Hayden.
It was his coming out game, but then he went right back into it. Let's see. So James says, over under the times we hear the most growth happens between game 1 and game 2 if this game is close.
I can almost guarantee you hear me say it. I'll say it at least once next week, probably with a crooked smile on my face. But yeah, that one's almost as good as the folks who say the biggest improvement comes from your freshman to sophomore year. You make that leap from year 1 to year 2. Yeah, that's a good cliche.
I'm going to be saying that when Oklahoma State only beats South Dakota State by like 13, and everyone starts like circling it and being like, "Hey, they might suck." I'm going to say, "Hey guys, most growth happens week 1 to week 2. The Pokes will be fine."
No, that's only for our team. The other teams don't do that. They
They're
don't.
gonna get worse.
Yeah, they're going to get worse between game 1 and game 2. That's how that works. I meant to bring this up and I forgot, so I apologize. But during the basketball, we were talking about that. Vids for me says, "How concerned should we be with Big Z and Adu and boots?"
I really don't think you should be. People get so worked up when they see those boots, and I get it. I mean, that means there's some kind of like lower leg, foot injury going on or whatever. But if it was a broken ankle or something, they'd be in a cast and not a boot. They'd be on those scooters or whatever. Like you never want to see that because it means somebody's not 100% healthy. But I was a practicing athletic trainer for 10 years. I can tell you, turf toe, we're putting somebody in a boot. Okay. A mild ankle sprain, we're putting somebody in a boot. Foot discomfort after a long conditioning session, we're putting somebody in a boot. Anthony Black wore a boot everywhere his entire freshman season except the games. So I get it. That's like oh boy, all the big men have boots on. The one to be concerned about would be Lawson Blake because he's post Achilles surgery or whatever he's got going on there. Think about last year, like Mekhi Mitchell and Caleb Battle both had broken feet, in the off season and this time, and they didn't miss any time, coming to the year. So, don't really think it's anything to worry about right now. Like I said, though, if we eventually see him in a cast or a scooter, or we get to, the first day of practice and we go check him out and those guys aren't out there, then, maybe you start to think about it a little bit, but I really wouldn't sweat it right now.
Also, keep in mind, Fayetteville, they call it the Hill. A lot of walking. So if you're a student at the U of A and you see one of your basketball players, oh, he's wearing a boot to this calc class or whatever, they always do that. They love throwing them in the boot because, like you said, it's any minor thing. But yeah, they don't throw them in a boot for a torn ACL right away.
My favorite memory of that, it was with Andrew, and we were like the only people who were at Bud Walton Arena for the Duke Deuce concert, which was just like their weird, I don't even know what they were trying to do with that, Midnight Madness or something for the students only. Anyway, Ricky Council comes walking into the arena with a boot on, and we were going, oh man, what's going on here? And then he went out there and won the dunk contest. So, it happens.
You know who wasn't in a boot? Nick Smith Jr., who turned out to be actually injured.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's what I would do if I was an athlete like that. I would just wear a boot just to make everyone think I'm hurt, and I'm not.
I do get. Oh yeah, and I was gonna say I do get irritated about their just cut the legs off of the photos. Like, stop doing that. I've had so many conversations with people over there who I know are taking those pictures, and I'm like, listen, I get it. Team photos or whatever. Just move your camera up a little bit. That way the boots are not visible, because I get so many DMs and texts and everything about that. And then they're not going to tell me exactly what's going on anyway. So, it just drives me nuts. Or if they're okay, just let them put a freaking shoe on for that moment. What are we doing?
Dude, Anthony Black wore a boot so much that I just thought it was his style. Like, because literally every time I saw him, without, like you said, without being in the game, he's wearing a boot. I thought he was just trying to make a statement fashion wise.
I wouldn't put it past AB. That seems like his kind of thing. Just to be trolling.
Yeah. Dude, I still say this, man. That dude was the tallest 6'7" dude I've ever met.
Unreal.
Like it was still like, I feel like you're 6'7", but when I walk next to you, I feel like you're 6'10", 6'11".
Oh yeah, for sure. And like he was walking around in that boot when we got to Vegas for that Sweet 16 game against UConn. We were there for their practice, and he was booted up the whole time, walking onto the floor. And then he got his ankle taped and put his shoe on, and they were out there just doing like layup lines, warming up. And the way he was moving, I was like, I don't know if this dude's going to play against UConn. Like he couldn't get his legs off of the ground. It was crazy. I'm pretty sure in that moment, and this is the only time in my life I could say this, I was more athletic than Anthony Black. But you know what? He showed up for that UConn game and he was all right. So I don't know if they were giving him some good painkillers or what it was, but yeah, that dude lived in a boot.
No, it was just this heart.
That's right.
It is the ultimate healer. It's just a lot of heart there. Shout out to Aaron for the donation.
Hey, thank you, man.
Yes, he was feeling the need to sponsor, or I don't know. I guess we should put it that way. If you'd like to sponsor your comment, that's what it needs to be done. Like this is the way to do it. If you want a sponsored comment, that's how you do it. But we appreciate it. Says Woo Pig, appreciate the streams. Well, we appreciate you, Aaron.
Yeah, we do, and we appreciate the people who appreciate the streams. The views have been getting pretty damn solid on these things, and it's exciting. Tune in for the post game tonight, though. Like, if you guys weren't around for basketball season last year, our post game streams are electric, and that's because of you guys who get on there with your irrational or over the top or drunk comments. We need all of that. So, like, as soon as the game ends tonight, we're going live to talk about it, and the best part about it is hearing from all of you. So make sure you tap into that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the post game. I almost wish we could just skip the game and just go right to the post game. Post game's gonna be fun. Yeah. And I see this comment from James. I was just about to say that. I appreciate the appreciation for our appreciation.
There we go.
We're all very appreciative of everything. Apparently,
appreciation is at an all-time high these days.
That's it. I was gonna ask, like, because I'm gonna be at the game. Hopefully, it's such a blowout to where I can just leave and go someplace. But should I try to do this post game from like the parking lot of War Memorial? But then I thought about it, I'm like, no, probably not that late at night. You know?
Yeah, I probably
might witness crime happen in real time.
We can
sitting here like on my microphone, be like, guys, there's a guy just picking my pockets. Just be like, well, I'm being robbed right now. There's a gun being pointed at me. I'm over here. Hopefully y'all are doing well. But how about Taylon Green? You know, just keep rolling with it. Keep rolling with it. No, I'm gonna try to do it from a location undisclosed. But either way, it's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be fun to get all the overreactions. That's how I feel about overreact. Yeah, because Mr. Bloodline says, "Are you guys doing a halftime stream or after game stream?" After game. Yeah, there should not be a need for a halftime stream against UAPB. I'm just being honest. There shouldn't be, unless they're like down 17-0. Then maybe we start.
Yeah, it might be an emergency halftime. If Arkansas is within single digits, I think we might have to do an emergency halftime stream.
Yeah, and it could almost be either be a panic session or a therapy session. Like, we might come on and be like, "Listen, everybody relax. There's another half of football to be played," and just let people tee off in the comments and read them.
Vanilla offense. They're scaling it back. Don't want to show too much.
Yeah, vanilla by design. Yep. That was like vanilla by design, man. And also, I'll never forget, speaking of those halftime streams, back when apparently you could do this, I did a halftime stream for the Arkansas Western Kentucky game in the press box when Chad Morris was his final game and Arkansas was down. And I remember, like, I used Robert Downey Jr.'s quote from Avengers. You'll appreciate this, Andrew, probably more so than Curtis, but it's like, part of the journey is the end. And this is the end. If I have to do that with the UAPB game, then so be it. You know, because I feel like if Arkansas is in that type of situation, it will be the end. It will be the end of the Sam Pittman era.
I remember the term "end"
should not be used today. We are at the beginning.
Yep.
I remember some of the Chad Morris era. You guys remember Nikki Chavanel?
Oh yeah,
she would go live just on her phone sometimes at halftime and start talking during those Chad Morris debacles. Those were pretty good. Those were funny.
Do we remember Nikki? Hell yeah, we remember Nikki. Yeah, we remember her.
Yep. I also remember doing my
great recruiting.
Yes, my post game radio shows after the Chad Morris eras. Those were great. Those were fun.
Gosh, man, yeah.
It used to be on Periscope. I used to hop in those every now and then.
Now, I listened to one of them after I sat with my buddy and watched the loss to San Jose State, and we were driving back home and we're listening to it, and somebody called in at the time, and I was kind of laughing at it, but it was like, Chad Morris, he needs to relinquish some of his power, and they need to bring in Bobby Petrino to be the offensive coordinator and call the plays. And I remember laughing so hard at that and being like, man, this dude's drunk or whatever. Well, here we are, everybody. Here we are. So whoever that guy was, I'll never forget the call. You manifested this. You did this. So good job, buddy.
We got to find that guy and be like, dude, what did you see? What did you know about this thing beforehand? Like, yeah. Well, it was funny too, because I'm sure a lot of people in the chat will know. That was back also when Big Content Guy would call in post-game shows.
Oh, man.
And those were always pretty electric. So my favorite thing about
to get Big Content Guy on for a post game.
Well, I've tried that once before, and he's even told me, he's like, "Hey man, I don't feel comfortable with me being on there because of what I will do and say." So I was like, I understand. But it's funny because my favorite thing about those post game shows too was just hearing the amount of Razorback fans and what they would come up with as far as their misery. Like, I'm John, I'm driving back, I'm about to go through the tunnel. I know there's a very big dip down there to my left. I may just rear off the truck and just go flying and see what happens. Like, just crazy stuff. And I'm like, well, please don't do that. But like, it's amazing how many people will equate their immediate emotional misery into those morbid and crazy things.
Gosh,
I kind of missed that part, to be honest. Let's hope we don't have to do that again. Man, yeah, those were great. So that's the thing, is like we may do this actually once we get closer to it. Maybe for the Oklahoma State, we'll try and incorporate you into phone lines and see if we can make that work. Get people to call. That'd be pretty awesome.
Be good.
Also, shout out to a sponsored comment here by Caden, sponsored by Caden Jowers. He says, how many players is Jaquindon Jackson going to run over tonight?
Hopefully 11 on like one play. That would be cool. I am anxious to see with all these guys who are, I think that you just feel really comfortable about, who are going to be your dudes, but have also been kind of banged up throughout camp. I just wonder what the workload looks like for them. Like Arkansas football is not in a position to take anything for granted in terms of we can just run whoever out there and beat the hell out of somebody. This is about, I think, as close as it gets to that situation. But how much would they really run a Jaquindon Jackson? Like, would even if you're even on the fence about Andrew Armstrong, like why even play him kind of deal, So I wonder what that looks like for him. But yeah, no, if the dude's out there and he's touching the rock, he's flattening somebody the first time he touches it.
Yeah, I like that, Curtis. And kind of going off that point, I hope he flattens a couple early on just to kind of set the tone and let him know, like, I have this capability. But after that, I want him to go full on QB mode. And as a former quarterback, he should know this. Get out of bounds. I don't want to see you taking any unnecessary hits. Don't hurt your shoulder while ending the life of that UAPB linebacker. Just slide down. We'll be fine. Andrew Armstrong, if you catch any passes tonight, slide, get out of bounds. Everyone's in quarterback mode. Everyone's got the black jersey on today.
Yes. Take care of yourself, please.
Except for Braylon Russell. Braylon Russell can hit as many people as he wants, and I want him to run over a lot of folks.
Yeah, I'm for him, because there's some players like Dennis Johnson used to be this way, and it always would scare me. But he does some guys just look for contact. Like if they're about to go out of bounds, and they're like, nope, I'm just going to run into this dude, even though he's thinking I'm going to go out of bounds. I don't want to see that from anybody tonight. Just don't, like, if you want to do that, if you want to show just how much swag you walk with, do that against Oklahoma State. Don't do it against UAPB, because no one's going to respect that. All it's going to do is possibly get you hurt. So don't do that. This comes from Evan. He says, unfortunately, the last game I've been to in person was the nail-biting Portland State game. Should I go to Tennessee, LSU, or Texas this year? My suggestion, my man, is Tennessee, because that's the first one, and that may be when the season still is not, at least the best chance of the season not being completely a waste by that point in time.
Tennessee is probably your safe bet. I will say Texas, no matter what, is always going to be a doozy. Like throw the records aside for this route, but like the atmosphere will be cool no matter what.
Yeah, I think LSU. F them. That's why.
Well, yeah, I'll say that, and also the fact that it's a night game, because that's the only night game that's going to be happening in Fayetteville. So. All right.
John go?
Well,
where'd you go?
John has disappeared.
No, it's totally fine. I'm just hanging out here, like apparently switching cameras. Yeah. So I'm doing this on my laptop. It's the first time I've done it on my laptop in a long time, and apparently it's very fickle to where it easily comes unplugged. So
your angle is changing all over the place.
You're all over the place, man.
Well, I got 18 cameras in here that just to make sure it gets all my best angles. So. Yeah, totally fine. It's normal. But yeah, go to the Texas game, 11 a.m. And is Tennessee at 2:30, or is that one of the options where it's like 2:30 or 7? Because I don't think it's a morning game.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember how that works, but yeah, something like that. Also have this from Camo Hog and remind me of. He's like, I remember wanting to hang myself with a barbed wire on the side of the stadium after the North Texas fake punt. See, that was the stuff I was talking about.
I mean,
People were really about that, man. Really about that. Jacob also says, just hopping on. Holy cow, no more bearded brothers. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean shaven around
John's
here,
up next.
I can't, dude. I look ugly enough as it is. That's why I have a beard, so it covers up the bottom half of my face. Let's see. Brady keeps asking this, and I'm just going to address it. Okay, real quick. Brady,
Yeah.
Yes, we did. If you go to InsideArkansas.com, we gave our full predictions, and we did a pod of that nature on YouTube and on podcast form, on Spotify, and on Apple, where we gave our full-fledged, in-depth analysis of predictions. So, yes.
I'm the hater.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I'm the hater.
Yeah. Curtis is the hater for the season. I'm the hater for tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, I did not end up having that.
Andrew is Switzerland.
Yeah, I just play both sides a little bit. It's crazy how and even then I saw so many comments that were like, "Wow, you guys are really optimistic." I'm like 5-7, 6-6, 7-5. Really optimistic. Really aiming for the moon here.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw somebody's like, "Oh, of course, Neighbors going 7-5." I'm like, the fact that you're saying that that's like the overly over the top, like this team's really just the best ever is really sad. It's just sad that we've got to that point.
Yeah.
But geez, yeah, because even Michael says everyone but Neighbors thinks the Hogs are terrible. Yeah, you guys think the Hogs?
We don't think they're terrible.
I think they're average.
Yeah.
That's what I thought 7-5 is average, but apparently not.
It's slightly above, I guess. But yeah, you know.
Just,
I wasn't offended by now when I was going through your picks, John, and you had them at 6-2 at one point. I was like, where is this headed? Like, what are we doing here? But you came back down to earth.
Yeah.
In really, really infuriating fashion. But yeah.
Yeah. That's my whole thought process in life when I open my mouth. I start out and everyone's like, where are you going with this? And I just end somehow and it makes sense. It works. But yeah, it's going to be great. And it's a game that's with tonight, the attendance will be there. I know a lot of people here in Little Rock are excited about it, and they're having seen some tailgates and everything. I did find it fascinating. They had like a pep rally thing at the mall here in Little Rock, which no one goes to. Guys, I lived here for 4 years, and I never darkened the door. But they had this big tailgate prep rally at I think it was the Park Plaza Mall. It's like, all right, like there wasn't anywhere else you could have had it, but apparently it's a pretty big deal and a pretty good turnout. So
that's good.
Yeah. And
I hope the team enjoyed Twisters last night.
Twisters is a good movie.
I need to see that movie. I need to see a lot of movies. But
Glenn Powell, he's the man, dude.
Was that filmed in Arkansas or something like that?
I don't know if it was filmed in Arkansas, but they referenced the U of A. Like one of the people, like it's like a big storm chasing. It's in I forget the name of the town, but it's like South Oklahoma, like super small town. And one of the people, there's like all these people chasing tornadoes, twisters. And one of them's like, yeah, I studied meteorology at the U of A. Glenn Powell's character is like from Arkansas, and he like drives this big lifted truck, and he plays the song Arkansas, the Chris Stapleton one. It's good old Southern American film. That's what it is. It's good stuff.
See, that's what I do too, but unfortunately, I don't look like Glenn Powell when I do it. This just doesn't hit the same. So
is he the one that's the rumored affair guy with Sydney Sweeney? That Glenn Powell?
Was, yes, because they were in that rom-com together. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I also saw.
That's why I'm familiar with the name, I guess. But
yeah.
Well, just knowing that no offense, but knowing what her husband or fiance or whoever boyfriend is now, and then seeing Glenn Powell, it's like I kind of get it, like it's not saying it's wrong or right, but I get it. It would make sense. I'd understand if that happened. Look at this. He says, you guys are, Arbor says, you guys are on here right now or on YouTube as well. He's calling, I guess, from X Twitter. He's like, I want to share as many places as possible. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on the Twitter. LinkedIn. Yes. Which is pretty crazy how many people actually watch us on LinkedIn. I love it. I love all of you LinkedIn
That's
people.
where Butternut Squash came from. I'm pretty sure.
Is that right?
Because I think, I could be wrong, but I remember like someone kept commenting from LinkedIn, and she was, I think that was where it all started.
Oh, Well, if that's the case, it's my personal LinkedIn. So that means whoever that is, it's someone that I've apparently said yes to on being a friend of mine on LinkedIn. Yeah, wouldn't have guessed that. But jeez. Wade says, damn, only neighbors gets to go to the game. I think gets to is a phrase that I don't know if that's the way you would put it. It's more of a I volunteered to go to the game. But also it's because I've lived in Little Rock for 4 years. I want to see my friends, and I was going to Hot Springs for Labor Day anyway. So yeah, it's just worked out that way is all.
We'll all be in Stillwater next weekend. That'll be fun.
Yeah. We do get to go to that one.
Yeah, that'll be good.
We are allowed to. Yeah. And Eskimo Joe's too, hopefully, will be where we post up for post game.
Yeah, that'd be sweet if that works out.
Not Mexico Joe's, Eskimo Joe's. Big difference, folks. Big difference.
I heard Mexico Joe's is solid, though.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know if it's not bad or it's just there's nothing else in Stillwater. It's one of the two, though. Aaron also says, once we beat UAPB by 300 today, I'll be convinced that the Arkansas Razorbacks will be going undefeated in football, basketball, and baseball, taking home the Triple Crown of championships. Okay.
As you should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? If Arkansas
believe in something.
Hey, listen, if Arkansas did win the national championship in football this year, then I would 100% go ahead and say, yep, they're winning in basketball and baseball. Like, I think maybe the sports gods just forgot that Arkansas was doing well. And I'm like, you guys better take advantage while you still got them distracted, because they're not going to take anything away from you. So, jeez. But, okay, so here's the thing. I want to bring this up. I know it's getting crazy off the rails about the close up shop here. But Dalton says, if I don't see at least one of y'all in a Cowboy hat next week, and I'll be disappointed. Is that a thing at Oklahoma State? I know they're the Cowboys. But
I would probably say so then.
But why would we be wearing cowboy hats? We are representing the pig.
I don't know. I know a lot of kids do it when they play down in Arlington against A&M, like Arkansas. Texas kids who go to the U of A who are Razorback fans wear the cowboy hats. But yeah, I don't know.
I've never owned a cowboy hat.
No time to mess with a cowboy hat when you're embracing the hog, boys.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we don't embrace the cowboy. We don't embrace the hat.
Man. And you know what? That hype video I put out this morning, I meant to put that line in there, and I forgot. And I just went ahead and put it out there. So I apologize. I wanted that to happen. So, but, well, we're getting close to it, guys. I mean, we've already given our season predictions, our final predictions for this game and everything. I mean, I guess just for one quick little refresher, so close up shop. We'll start with you, Andrew. What do you think tonight? Final score, game predictions, one bold prediction that you have. Oh, yeah, sorry. Rewind it. Forget I said anything.
Bold prediction first?
Yes, let's do the bold prediction for not only tonight, but for the season. You get one bold prediction. And we could take some time if you guys need to think about it, because I kind of threw this on you at the very end of it.
So, no, you're good. Okay.
I'm ready right now.
Go for your bold prediction, because I'm not ready.
Okay, for tonight, my bold prediction is Brad Spence pick 6. He runs it back at War Memorial again. For the season, let's go Arkansas beats Ole Miss.
Okay.
Wow.
That is a bold prediction. I like it.
Where the hell did that come from?
You got to beat one team you shouldn't. You know, I predicted it to be LSU, I think, so I'm just switching it up. They beat Ole Miss.
That was not what I expected to hear. Well, for tonight, I'm going to go with my bold prediction is that Isaiah Satania has a receiving touchdown and a punt return touchdown. And I think he's going to be we're going to be writing that Isaiah Satania Player of the Week story on Monday morning. So I look forward to that. For the season, I'm going to go with, I'm not going to say Luke Has is going to win the Mackey. I think he is going to be a finalist for the Mackey, and he will be a first-team All-SEC tight end. And I think, y'all ready for this one? He will lead Arkansas in receiving. I think he's going to have 800 yards and will lead Arkansas in receiving. I've been just starting, and me and Curtis did a whole stat projections podcast where I didn't say this. And I feel like I've just been thinking about it. And honestly, playing on the video game with Arkansas, Luke Has is always open. Like, when in doubt, Luke Has. And I think that's going to be the motto for the season. And when you look at what he was doing last year, he was kind of, once he got rolling, was on a pace where he was about to have probably 500, 600 yards as a true freshman. I think everyone on the team, they're going to have 3 or 4 guys that are in that 500 to 750 range and receiving yards, I think Luke Has is going to be Arkansas's leading receiver.
Woo.
That's a good one.
Love
That's
that.
a good one. For tonight, my bowl prediction is that a defensive lineman gets a scoop and score for Arkansas.
Oh, there's nothing better than that.
I know. Like,
Who do you think gets it?
I mean, if you're going to hold me to that specific, Andrew, I'll say Cam Ball. Give me Cam Ball.
Yeah, that'd be
I
good.
he gets a scoop and score, and everyone goes crazy because not saying he's a fat guy, but when big people score touchdowns, it's always fun.
Yeah.
And he's a big dude. So
he would be the ultimate big guy to score a touchdown because it's always the big guy with the best personality. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like every time a big guy scores a touchdown, it's like a guy who's got a celebration ready. But I'd love to see Nico Davier get in the end zone in Little Rock. That'd bring a tear to my eye almost.
It'd be cool.
Yeah,
Captain
that would be
Nico.
awesome. Yeah. And then for my bowl,
Captain Nico.
Oh.
for my bowl prediction for the season, I kind of have two, and that's okay. People can hold me to both. My first bowl prediction is that Taylor Green is going to be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC at the end of the year, with yardage wise and everything, and rushing yards, touchdowns, all of that. Put it together. Like, I know there's not, like, you could say like leads and yards or whatever. I'm just saying if there's a consensus of Taylor Green's the 3rd best quarterback in the SEC at the end of the year, is basically what I'm saying. So I'm gonna say that. And my other one, Arkansas beats Missouri.
Oh, there we go. It's sad that that's bold, but that's just where we're at.
I love that we all predicted stuff that like we have predicted that we didn't predict before. Like, we did a season predictions, didn't include any of this, but we just,
that's why they're bold.
here we are.
Yeah, that's why they're the bold predictions, because those were our like safe, real predictions. The bold predictions are just like, you can't hold it against us because we said they were bold. They were very bold predictions. That's all.
There you go.
So
I like it.
It's going to be great. So, hey, it's been great. It's been great hanging out with everybody. Appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching in to Inside Arkansas Live. Remember, tonight after the game, as soon as the game ends, we will be going live right here on Inside Arkansas for our post-game show, for Pot of That Nature post-game show. So be sure to check it out, and we'll have all your reactions, our reactions, and I'm sure that no one will be over-emotional or over-dramatic or over the top with their reactions. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to do that. So for Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tonight. See you all at the Pot of That Nature post-game show after the game tonight with Arkansas and UAPB.